Hello, namaste. Today is the new moon, December 14th, 2020. This is the last new moon of the year. The new moon is a time to set new intentions, to be grateful for all that you have, and to really just kind of allow your subconscious energy to bring in that which you want to see and feel in the world, in your own body and mind and surroundings. And then that kind of ripples out into the world at large. Today is a special new moon because there's also a solar eclipse today. There also happens to be a thunderstorm happening at my house right now, so it just feels like really special energy. It's kind of peculiar, but in a really exciting way, the way that storm energy often is. So let's move our bodies a little bit. Let's open our hips and open our hearts, release all the stuckness that we've got built up, and just really open to the present moment and embrace what's happening so that we can move through our lives in alignment with grace, with joy, with peace. So let's get started. Come into child's pose. You can take a wide-legged child's pose by bringing your toes together, opening your knees. Inhale, and as you exhale, just fold forward. At the end of this practice, I'll be guiding you through intention setting. So for now, just move with me. Just move your body. Allow your forehead to come all the way to the floor. And as you begin your practice settling into this child's pose, begin to become aware of your body and let every pose be a meditation. Meditation is where we just focus on one thing. So see if you can allow each pose to lead you into a meditation, even if it only lasts for a few seconds at a time. The more and more you can cultivate this space of just total awareness, the longer you'll be able to hold those periods and really deepen your meditation practice and your experience on earth. So breathing fully, just notice what you notice in your hips. Notice if you have some unilateral pain or if it just feels the same bilaterally. Maybe it's not pain, maybe it feels really good. If it's possible, see if you can get your chin to the ground. And just notice all that opens up for you. On your next inhalation, begin to rise mindfully with intention. Place each of your palms flat on the floor and just take a moment and notice your hands. Have gratitude for all that your hands do for you. Let each fingertip plant into the ground and imagine that roots are extending from your fingertips down into the earth below you. Remember that anytime we reach into the earth reaches back up to hold us. So it's this perfect balance of effort and ease. If it feels good to find some dance in your shoulders now or at any time in the practice, I invite you to do that. Lift your pelvis off of your heels. Place your knees so that they're aligned underneath your hips. Check back to see that your feet are not sickled. Feet are nice and straight to protect your ankles and knees. And then we're going to move through some cat-cow. So the cat pose is when your spine is reaching toward the sky, chin is tucked toward the chest. Cow pose is when your hips are reaching toward the sky, the back arches, the eyes go up. Moving through this with your own breath. I like to inhale on cow and then exhale with cat. I've heard and seen people do it the other way, so you just do what feels good for you. Try to spread your collarbones even when you're in cow, bringing your shoulder blades together. Exhaling into cat and allowing your shoulder blades to glide over your rib cage and just really open up that back, open the back of your heart space, open to receive. Inhale, look forward every time you're coming into cow, looking forward and up. Continue breathing through the pose, maybe 3 more times. And I feel inclined to say that looking forward to something is clinically proven to be sometimes more beneficial than the event itself. So the more optimism we can have, the more we can look forward to taking trips and being with friends and surrounding ourselves with loved ones. We get to experience that in the present time as we daydream, as we plan, as we think of something, even if it's not going to happen. Just thinking about it puts us in that headspace, that appreciative, grateful headspace. So when you've completed the cat-cows and your spine feels awake, we're gonna move into swan, which is just pigeon that we hold for a long time. So let's move the right leg forward. Ooh, bent. And if you can get your leg parallel with the front of your mat, then do that. I cannot, my body shape just doesn't allow for that. I am gonna remove my donut socks though. I have 1 donut and 1 Cookie Monster. They're coming off. So as you extend the left leg behind you, just notice that your left hip flexors begin to open. So there's sensation here in the right hip. There's sensation in the opening of the hip flexors in the front of the body. Those are excellent places for your focus, for your meditation. If it feels good to do so, you can stay right where you are, or you can come down onto your forearms, pressing your palms into the ground. Again, rooting your fingertips down into the earth. Breathing fully into your belly, sending breath down all the way into that extended leg. Try to be in every part of your body at the same time. Really embody yourself. Let your breath guide you. Maybe you can breathe all the way to your fingertips, to the tip of your head. Touching the tip of the tongue to the middle of the roof of your mouth. We do this in Chinese medicine when we practice Tai Chi. We're connecting the conception vessel with the governing vessel. Just creating a complete infinite loop in the body. Breathing, breathing, breathing. Allowing your breath to bring life to every cell in your body, life, awareness. If you're not aware of this moment, are you really even in this moment? And if you're not in the moment, are you really alive? Breathe into the sensations in your hips, in any other part of your body that feels like it wants attention. If your mind is racing, if you can't stop thinking, just allow it. Just love yourself, forgive yourself, allow yourself to think. But don't get hooked into those thoughts, simply notice. We're hanging out in that Vijnanamaya Kosha, the wisdom witness body, where we notice the racing mind, but we're more interested in the sensations in our soma, in the physical body. 3 more deep breaths here. And really let your breath penetrate every level. After your next exhalation, bring yourself up to a seated position. See if you can press and open your heart, open your shoulders, maybe even reach back behind yourself and put your palms together. Interlace your fingers. Get a nice opening of the collarbones and the chest. Gaze up towards the ceiling. Press that left foot into the floor, opening your hips a little further. Inhale. As you exhale, go ahead and bring that left leg up to the front. Let's just fold it in front of the right leg. Sit up as tall as you can. Scoop up the life force energy. Scoop up everything that's good in the world. Bring it together in your hands. Notice a globe of goodness that you're holding in your hands. Inhale, release that into the universe as you fold forward, exhaling. I'm on my forearms. If your hip is really tight, you might not get to your forearms. You might just be here, and that's great. Where you are is the most advanced version of the pose. So what you do doesn't need to look like what I do, and doesn't need to look like anybody else. Everybody's got their own story, their own patterns, their own genetics, their own pain, their own history, their own injuries. Inhale and let your breath circle the hips. If there's an uncomfortable situation, notice if you're struggling against it, and instead just try to accept it. My left hip is really feeling this. I can label it as unpleasant, but I can also back up a little bit and just notice, this is what my hip feels like. And then it ceases to be unpleasant. Instead, it's just a sensation that I'm experiencing. And there's no struggle in my mind against it. This is what this feels like. That's what got me through both of my labors with my children. This is just what this feels like. If it's possible on your next exhalation, see if you can bring your belly a little bit closer to the floor, whether you're still sitting up or you're leaning forward. Maybe your belly is already flat on the floor. And if that's the case, see if you can place your chin on the floor. We hold this stretch here in easy pose for a long time so that we give our fascia a chance to open, release, soften. Return to its gelatinous state. Fascia is really fascinating. It's fascinating. It's sort of in between plasma and solid. It's this network of webbing that covers the muscles and bones in our body. It's connective tissue, but it's more than connective tissue. It's more than tendons and ligaments. It actually holds memory. It holds emotions. So anything that we've gone through, anything that we've stored in the hips unknowingly, we can release it by deeply stretching and opening the fascia. And since its job is to hold us together and provide stability, it takes 1 to 5 minutes for the fascia to get the message to open, release, and soften, that we're not trying to be stable right now, we're actually trying to be flexible. It's feeling good for me to sort of twist and lean into the left side of my body. If that feels good or makes sense to you, then I invite you to do it. It's like reaching into a new part of my left hip. Let's just hold this for 5 more deep breaths, realizing that it's okay to be uncomfortable. This too shall pass. The moment that you accept where you are, you cease to struggle with where you are. 1 more deep breath. And then press yourself up with your hands, lift yourself up with your core. Let's leave that left leg right where it is and extend the right leg straight onto the mat, coming into swan pose on the opposite side. Again, making sure that your right foot is pressed down into the mat. It's nice and straight. this front leg that's bent, we can get it as parallel with the mat as possible. If you have bow legs like I do, it's probably not ever going to be possible to make it parallel with your mat. Inhale, and as you exhale, find your edge. On this side, I'm actually at my edge right here. I will not be able to get down onto my forearms at this moment. And that's okay. It's where I am today. Where are you today? There we go. Inhale, exhale, press your hands down into the floor, into the ground below you, rooting your fingertips, lifting your palm like a suction cup. Notice if there's anywhere that you're holding. Sometimes the very place I'm trying to stretch, I notice that I'm also tensing it. So see if you can get inside those places and just release, open those. This music we're listening to is Simrit, S-I-M-R-I-T. She's not only an incredible musician, but also a yogini. Kundalini is her jam. You can find her on the Googles. She's got some really amazing opportunities, life-changing even. After your next inhalation, begin to press yourself up. And let's whip that right leg around so that we're coming into that easy pose, Sukhadya. It's not easy all the time, but it's called easy pose. So with that right leg folded in front of us, let's scoop up all that is good in the world. Hold it in your hands. This time let's bring it down the center and just place all that is good in your belly. Give yourself a little belly rub. Inhale again. As you exhale, lean forward. Be where you can be, come where you can come. You might be down on your forearms, you might be down flat on your belly, you might be sitting up just with your hands on the floor. The most advanced version of every pose is the one that's right for your body. The one where you have the courage and the strength to do what you need to do instead of doing what it looks like someone else is doing. Notice the sensation in your hips. See if you can be in your witness state and allow that sensation you feel to be a meditation. Let it be your single point of focus. And as you breathe and as the fascia opens and releases your hip, notice if you can get a little closer to the floor with your belly. Notice if you can lean in. Encircle your hips with your breath. Know that every time you breathe, you're imbuing yourself with love and gratitude, forgiveness, compassion. Let your thoughts do what your thoughts do. But remember, you are not your thoughts. So simply witness them the way you would witness someone walking down the street. Without judgment or berating, just noticing. Two more deep breaths here. Remember, with every exhalation, you get to let go of something that's no longer serving you. Inhale, and as you exhale, just let go of everything that you no longer need. As you inhale, press yourself up. Let's come into an up dog. So press your fingertips into the floor, send those legs back behind you, bring your belly onto your mat. Again, pressing your fingers into the floor, lifting the palms so that you have a nice suction cup. Lift your torso, lift your hips off of the floor. Straighten your arms as best you can. Press those feet down into the mat. I think I said up dog. This is actually Sphinx. Inhale, as you exhale, lower back down to the mat. I feel like we've gotten our hips pretty well, and we will do a reclined twist at the end. So we've moved our spine through the coronal plane, and we will be in the transverse plane, but we've got to get into that sagittal plane. So here's what we're gonna do. Press up into plank, and then let your hips float back. Press your feet down, come into a very brief downward dog, and then let's take a lunge. So place that right foot in between your hands at the front of the mat. Keep your right knee bent. Make sure that left foot is turned in parallel with your right foot. Lift your knee off the mat, arms up to the sky. Pointing your arms to the sky. You can't see me, that's okay. And from here, we're gonna open the arms. So we're kind of in a very low warrior two. I'm gonna back up. You can stay right where you are. I think I'll even turn my body. So coming into that warrior two pose, let's play with some spinal alignment. See if you can keep your feet and knees right where they are, and just open and twist the arms. And then slide the back of your hand down the front of your right leg. Extend that left arm up and over. Just opening the side body. If it feels good to straighten that right leg, you can come into a sort of reverse triangle where you're opening and straightening your legs. But you can also leave that leg bent. I really just want you to open this side body right now. Come on back up. You can bring your feet together. Give yourself a shimmy shake. Place the left leg out, bending the knee. Let's straighten the right leg and point the feet in the same direction, coming into warrior one, and then two, opening the arms, spreading, readjusting the feet. Your proper alignment is really just when your knees and toes are pointing the same way, and when the pose feels steady and good to you. That's it. You've got it. So just dance with your arms open. Do what feels good. Maybe give your shoulders some rolling. And then slide the back of that left hand down your left leg. Open your right arm up and over the head. This time opening the right body, the right side body. You can straighten the leg if it feels good. And then let's return to the mat. We'll just do one more pose together. It'll be a reclined twist. And then we'll do a little bit of intention setting. So come on down to your mat. So from your back, place your feet on the ground. Let both of your knees drop over to the right side. Open your arms in a cactus shape. And if it feels better, you can take eagle legs so that you get a little bit more of a stretch. Let your gaze go over your left shoulder as the knees are down on the right side. Just really pressing the knees toward the ground, pressing the shoulders toward the ground. Breathing as deeply as you can. Getting some transverse plane action as we twist the spine, give the internal organs a hug. 3 breaths here. Letting go of what you don't need. See if you can let your exhalation be audible. Let's lift up the knees and drop them over to the other side. Taking the gaze to the right, the knees to the left. Leaning into that twist, feeling the spine open. 3 more, nice big breaths, making any noise you want on the exhalation. You can put your teeth together and make an S noise. Do a good old-fashioned sigh. Maybe some horse breath. Let your knees come together, roll yourself back up. And then find whatever position feels good for you. If you want to continue to open your hips, you can come into shoelace pose. With whichever hip is tighter on top. And if they're both tight, then you just might want to change your position halfway through. I'll just talk for a moment about setting intentions with the new moon. Let yourself get grounded. Imagine whatever points are coming into contact with the floor. Imagine that roots are extending from that part of your body down into the actual earth below you. So whenever you set intentions, it's kind of like daydreaming. And I have friends, I have a few really close friends who still feel like intention setting is kind of selfish, or that it's asking for too much, or that it's some form of escapism. And I understand where they're coming from, but I don't agree. That's not my point of view. I feel like we are all droplets in the ocean, and one drop affects another. You know, when it gets hot and we start to percolate and become bubbles of excitement that make the water boil, one really does affect the other. If there's something dry and there's even one drop of water, it's going to be absorbed. So you do make a difference. You matter. What you feel like energetically, it really matters to the whole. So taking care of yourself, it is selfish, but selfish isn't a negative word. We've given it sort of a negative connotation, but really to care for yourself is the most loving thing you can do for those around you. Number one, because it models for them, like, oh, she or he's taking great care of herself or himself. I love modeling for my children that I still have my own interests, you know, I've got my own hobbies. I need to take care of myself. They see me practicing self-care, and they see me taking classes and going after my own interests, and you know, having my athletic pursuits. And Does it take time away from parenting? Yeah, it does. But it also models for them that when they become parents, they also need to maintain their own individuality and not just be a parent. So I think it's really important to fill your own cup so that you can help to just be the person that you are in all the roles that you have. So setting intentions, really the very first thing is to just be so grateful for everything you have. You have so much to be grateful for. I mean, millions of things, billions, infinite, I'm not sure, but I know at least a million things that I could be grateful for. And so it's about that. It's about not focusing on what's wrong, because then what we do is just collect more energy around what's wrong. And the more time we spend thinking about what's wrong and what needs to change, the more we actually just get stuck in that rut of what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong. And that's the story we replay over and over. But instead, if we're just like, oh, I'm so grateful for these hardwood floors. I'm grateful for this little ant who has, I don't know where he came from, outside presumably. I don't know how long he's been here, but he's been here for this whole practice. He's alive, he's just walking in a circle. I'm so grateful for him. There were times at the beginning of the practice where I was staring at him and just like imagining what it was like from his perspective to be this little guy. Anyway, those are just some examples of the basic things I'm grateful for. I'm grateful to be warm, I have clothes. It's raining, I'm dry. I have these amazing children and cats. There's just so much to be grateful for. So allow yourself, let the gratitude penetrate you. And really take time for this. Every month, new moon, intention setting, feeling really grateful, allowing yourself the pleasure of gratitude, because it's one of the channels of love. So once you're just like seeped in gratitude from that space, then you can think about how you want things to be without dwelling on this is how things are and this is how I want them to be. It's more like, yeah, one day I don't want to live in the city. One day I want to live on a lot of land and I want to be growing my own food. And so with this new intention setting, I can just like picture myself in the garden with my feet in the ground, smelling the tomato leaves, which is like one of my favorite smells of all time. Feeling the rain on my skin, looking around, seeing my grown children playing with their children. You know, intention setting for me is really about using quantum physics to reach into my future self's reality and notice that and be grateful for all that I will have, and at the same time be grateful for all that I already have, and at the same time be so grateful for all that has happened, all the bad things and the good things, just all the things. Things aren't bad and things are good, they just are, you know? So intention setting is really more about daydreaming, and it's more of a feeling, sort of cultivating this feeling of being in alignment with your true self, of being in that state of the wisdom body, of the witness body, of expressing your own drop of water so purely and so beautifully that you will be, I'm losing words, coming into yourself so purely that your influence is going to affect all the other drops of water. And so then the big picture changes, you know? You start with where you are, you work on your little picture, and then the big picture also benefits. So I hope that today you do some good intention setting, that you harness this beautiful solar eclipse, new moon energy. Maybe you've got a thunderstorm where you are to bring in the trifecta. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for being you. You matter. Namaste.